Okay, so now in this video, let's create a GitHub repository. Just go to where GitHub and create a new file. So let's create a new repository, which is called whitelist tab. Let's say, and just use the whitelist tab over here and create repository. So yeah, as you can see, I just want to upload my whitelist app and not my contacts as of now, but you can also do that. But in this video, we just only uploading our the Next.js application. Okay. So as you can see, this is our Next.js applications. So let's initialize basically whenever you create a Next.js application, it's already come with a git and everything. So you don't have to get in it and anything else, but you just have to just git commit because we changes added color. Let's say. Okay, so for before that, I have to also run this command, which is called git add, and now I have to run this color. Okay. So now, as you can see, my repository is it's working clean. And now just change your branch from master to the main branch. Just copy this thing. Now copy your GitHub repository's URL. Just use it, and now push your code to the GitHub itself. So it asked me for my private keys and everything. So I mention it. I'm gonna mention it. So yeah, well, I just uploaded my code to the GitHub, and now you can see the code is up and running over here. So now just go to the vercel. Let's host this bare minimum application which we are using, which we seeing is right now. Just host it to the vercel. Go to the vercel.com, and just you have to register with your GitHub account where you just uploaded your this particular code. So I just sign up with this particular service, create on this new project. It's automatically detects the latest one. I imported this project. Come over there. If you want to change the name of your project, I just want to keep it simple. If the Next.js is not selected, please select the Next.js next.js file. And as you can see, the pages, this is the exact page, that exact thing that we want from the Next.js project. And just everything is simple. Just deploy, click on deploy, and yeah, just wait for a while. Yep. As you can see, after clicking on deploy in a few minutes, the app is up and running. Just click on this, and as you can see, this particular application is ready to host. Yeah, it is hosted, it is live. You can share this link with your friends, and now your application is up and running, which you can see into this localhost, and you can also see into this live application. So yeah, that's cool. So now let's connect our smart contracts with our with our Next.js framework. Okay, so this is the now one part. Let's connect it. So the one thing which again the module which you're using into this the Next.js folder, not inside the hardhat.s smart contracts. Inside this WL dapp applications, we have to install another folders. So and let's install this particular folder. So what is this Web3 model is a let's install library. Web3 model is an easy to use libraries to help developers easily allow the users to connect to their dApps with all sorts of different wallets. By default, Web3 model supports injected providers like MetaMask, Dapper, Genesis, and all those things. It means it's a kind of model which helps to connect within the wallet with its wallet. So here we are using actually MetaMask. So yeah, so this works with MetaMask as well, and the libraries and all those kinds of nitty-gritty things, but it works for connecting your wallet somehow. So this is what we're trying to achieve with this particular module. So let's after this, and we also have to install the ethers libraries. So what is ethers? Ether is actually the ether.js is the most important part of connecting your smart contract with your front end. Okay, so this ethers library is really important, which is a bridge between your smart contracts and the front end. So you also have to install this. So after when it is completed, install that as well. So we have to, so let's wait for a while. So yep, it's installed, and let's install the ethers as well. So it is also installing, and it is installing. And let's go to our they also we can also change our stylings and all those things, but I don't want to make it I don't want to make change instance. Let's leave this particular part, and let's go to our index.js file, index.js files. And yeah, from here we start building our applications. Okay, so how we connect to our smart contracts. From here we work on it. Okay, so is there anything that we want to do else? Yeah, I think it's good to go. So yeah, so let's write down some smart contracts code. So here we are, let's see, here we are using this Web3 model thing instance, as we already discussed about. We are using this Web3 model for connecting to the different wallets. Okay, so that's why using Web3 models, and this provider and the contract thing is coming from the Ethers library that we just installed. Oops, it installed. Yeah, it is also completed, and this use and now there are the states in the hooks into the reactive frameworks, React and Next.js. With the help of these things, we can play with the different kind of changes within our website. So that's the state is about. Next state is use state, and the use effect. And well, I don't know about the use ref, so let's leave it for a while. But so for React ways improving the use state, I also let you know how these things are working. Yeah, once we start coding, whitelist is coming from the dot constant. So I think it's coming from those constant files. So let's create a constant file first. So let's create it. I think they created in below. So now create a MyDapp folder into the MyDapp folders. And within this same folder, let's create a file which is called create a folder which is called as constants. Okay, and there you can create a file called index.js. And yes, and there we are using the ABIs and ABI and this thing. So let's copy this, and from where you get the API. So API is into the hardhat rules, artifacts, contracts, and the whitelist also. So let's go to your smart contracts, go to the smart artifacts, go to the contracts, and there you can see the whitelist source. And the whitelist source, we have this a JSON file. Okay, just go to this JSON file, whitelist source, and from there JSON file, and from this just copy the ABI part. Just copy your ABI part. Okay, JSON file. It will be a huge array, close to 100 lines. Okay, it's a huge array. Let's copy this ABI thing. So sorry. Yeah, it is up to this particular point. Yeah, so you can see this ends over here. So let's copy everything and copy it over here. So now we have this API, and now you have to also need your contact's address. So just as I did earlier, I'll save it to this .env file. So let's copy this thing from your env file and use inside this particular constructs index.js file. Yep. Let's come over here, and here we use our context address. So this is how we got an address of a folder. And so remember one thing: whenever we try to interact with our smart contracts, we need two things only, which is our contract address. So this contract address is in going to be tested as of now, and the ABI, and ABI is act as your interface. What are the functions and everything within that particular smart context? As you can see, we uses the functions called add address to whitelist, and maximum whitelist is our variables and all those things. So this API provides the interface to that particular smart contracts code here. So we just take everything here, and now it's time to import it as well. Okay, so I don't know why this thing is below this particular functionality, but yeah, so now we're gonna use this things. Okay, so I'm not sure it's from my directions. It's from dot constants. Sorry, it's from constants. So now we use this white contact address and the ABI thing, And why we're able to use these variables only because of the reason is we are actually exporting these kinds of variables. So whenever you want to use any variable outside any kind of functions, you have to export it, and with the help of export keyword, you can do it. So, and this way we also got our contact address. So now we have all the bare minimum parts to connect our Next.js application to the smart contracts. So let's write down some function. Okay, so okay. So now you can see from here we learn about the use state thing. So let's write it down. So const and we call app is our wallet connect. So wallet connect, and okay, it's already 100. Okay, so as you can see, I stated the use state hook, which we import from the React. So this use state hook and the initial value of this state. If you think about the state as what are the states? If anything changes, if we want to update the UI, we in React we do it with the help of states. Okay, so let's say if you want to change from the loading bar to from true to false, we can do it like in that particular fashion. Okay, so let me give you a really simple example. Const and as loading, set loading, and now set loading is false. Okay, so let's come to your function, and here just write down your code. Okay, so into what happens into the, if you want to write JavaScript code with insights these kinds of HTML, you have to use these curly braces. Okay, so I want to write a simple basic JavaScript. So let's loading. If loading, and if in JavaScript, what happens if you want to write a very basic if and else condition, you can do with the help of this ternary operator, this particular kind of operator. So this is a way of basically this and this. So the first condition is if this condition is to execute these things, else execute these things. Okay. So let's say if the thing is loading, so we call it is something like p loading. Okay. Loading. Else let's say nothing. Okay. The null is nothing, which shows nothing. Okay. So as I just get it down, and you can see there's nothing happens. Okay. But as soon as I change the state of this particular variable, let's say it's true, it's updated, and now you can see there's a loading thing. Okay, so you can easily say with the how within a code you can do this particular functionality. So with the help of this particular set loading function, which is basically a function, with the help of this particular function, we can update the values of loading variable. Okay, so if I do it again a false, uh, this condition becomes false, and it's just condition false, the null is executed. Okay, so now there's nothing. So you can also, for our understanding, we can write this out, not loading, let's say not loading. Yeah. So the condition is false, that's why it is not loading, but if condition is true, it is loading. Okay, so this is how the state works in Next.js or React. So let's come to our website, and now we are again using different kinds of states. Why we're using it, we see it later, but let's use them. So we're using they also mentions the comments. So let's read it out. Wallet connect keep tracks of whether the user wallet is connected or not. Okay, and now we also have this other state variable, which is called the joined whitelist, which keeps track of join wallet, keeps track of whether the current MetaMask address has joined the whitelist or not. As you can see, when we are playing with our smart contracts, and when we are deploying, or when we are building a smart contracts, we are also keep tracking of with in this particular thing, whether the person is already registered into our applications or not. So if you want to play with that state, and if you want to just check anything, or want to update our UI experiences with the help of that particular thing, we use this particular state variable. So now loading, I was already built the loading, so let's leave it. And now the number of number of whitelisted user. So this particular state help us to show the number of people who are already registered into your smart contracts. And now let create a refreshed Web3 model used for connecting MetaMask with persist as long as the page is open. Okay. So okay, so use ref is some sort of state hook as well. So let's see what is use ref is. So use ref react spanning. Okay, so use ref. Yeah, this is the use ref. User returns a mutable ref object whose current property is initialized to the pass argument initial value. The return object will persist. Okay, so actually the use ref is a kind of state when we are using it. As soon as the page is open as the persist for the full lifetime of the component, so its value won't change. Okay, so this is kind of that particular thing. It means whenever we do anything within a page, we don't want to change its value. We using the use ref statement. So that is what the meaning of use ref. So we define a function which act as a which persistent application, a persistent thing with the help of useref hook. Yeah. So now I don't know about, okay, so okay, all these is the comment itself. So let's skip this comments and create our provider function, all kind of functions that we created. Okay. So again, once to this. Yeah. So now here you can see these all are the states which we are using later in our in updates of UIs. Okay, so without this we cannot update the UI in Next.js. Okay, so that's why using the state variables. States are really important with the Next.js, React Next.js or React. So we define a function which is called a get provider or signer. Okay, so what is provider and signer? Actually, let's read about it. A provider is need to interact with the blockchain, which is reading transactions, reading balance, and reading state, etc. So provider is helpful whenever you are trying to fetch anything from the smart contracts. And the signer is something is a special type of provider. Is also a provider, but it is help us to write transactions to the smart contracts. As the name suggests, the signer is somebody who signs the contracts. Okay, so provider is a kind provider is the in a blockchain is actually helps to read data, and the signer which helps us to write data into the smart contracts. So we creating this particular function which helps us for doing same. Okay, and as you can see, everything is asynchronous, which means it takes some time to do all those operations, and that's what again we make asynchronous function. So yeah, for simplicity's sake, we also define this is a new way of creating a function within JavaScript, but we can change it to like our old-fashioned way, name it as function, and you can define async over here, which is exactly same as what we did in our deploy script files. So when I deploy it, as you can see, this is how I write function. So yeah, basically you can also write the function in this particular exact same way. So I just converting that arrow function into the normal function. So just for keep simple, okay, everything. And now also accepting it is also accepting a parameters. Okay, so let's write down a parameter as well, so which is called a need signer, which is a need signer. Let's see what it does. Need signer to if the need of the signer default false. Okay, so need signer is somebody when we need somebody to sign the contracts. That means when we are trying to sense when we are trying to write data into the smart contracts. I think that's where we use need signer. Otherwise, the default value we can also set it as false. We do not always want somebody to send data to the smart contracts. Okay, so need signer is equals to false. Now connect to the MetaMask. This is a way of connecting a MetaMask with the help of Web3 ref, which we defined here with three model ref. So let's write it down as well. Const provider is equals to provider is equals to await, and we call it as Web3 Web3 model Web3 model ref dot current dot connect. Okay. So basically this provides us from this is which is coming from our this is provided thing from the three more connect, and the other thing is const the three provider is equals to okay, the provider is equals to new provider, which is the same object which we are using here, provider dot web3. Okay, so it's web capital web3 model web3 provider. Yeah. Okay, so basically it's not providers, it's providers. Okay, so I think this is coming everything okay. So as you can see, with the help of Web3 model, we import, sorry, with the ethers, we import this particular thing, which is called the providers and the contract. Okay, with ethers and with the Web3 model, we import the Web3 model. So here we are using all those features as well. Web3 model ref, which we defined with the help of reference state hook, and we use it over here, and the constant providers, and yeah, everything is good. Yeah, it's good to go. So we're creating the variable which helps us to connect to the metamask. So let's write it down as well. Connect to metamask. Okay. If user is not connected to the Linkview network, we also check if the user is not logged in with our Linkview testbeds. So you can also check that out with the help of use model. So let us write the chain ID is equals to await Web3 provider, which is this particular object that we are using it, Web3 provider dot get network. So as you can see, this here we are using this this curly braces. So what happens? This curly braces. This Web3 providers provides us the list of all the networks, so many lists. But if we want the list of so many objects, so many things. But if we just want the this is looks like a dictionary. Okay. If we check how this looks, let's run this. How this thing, what this thing is providing. Okay. So let's everything is there. Um, not calling these functions. Just skip this function as well. Just skip this function as well. There are so many functions. So we are definitely we should not calling it function, calling those functions. We are inside this use effect. This is also a hook. Let's leave this function as a for a while as of now. Connect wallet inside a connect wallet. So okay. So let me use the directly the use effect. Okay. So use effect is something which is this. This is so what happens? This use effect is something which runs whenever the page render whenever the page renders. Okay, so this is the fun this is a fun this think about this runs the functions within a React only once. Okay, whenever the page loads. Okay, so I try to run this function. Let's also run it for console.log use effect use effect. Okay, so this is a function of just run. Okay, so what happens what happens, this use effect runs whenever the state changes. But if you just want to run this particular thing whenever the page renders, whenever the only one time in that particular page, we use this dependency variable, which is the empty arrays. Okay, so let's see what we got. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we got some error as well. So cannot be property of undefined. Sure that we are using something wrong here. Yeah, it's coming here, and the three model reference to current connect. So we are getting this error because we are not actually define our Web3 model ref. So here, when we are trying to use this use state, we have to we have to define what is the use ref thing, is this thing, the use ref model thing, which we use it over here. So let's first use it. Okay. You can also check if our wallet is already connected or not. So with the help of this particular state variable, we can check that thing as well. If wallet is already connected, if it is not connected, then only we have to run all this reference things. Otherwise, we don't want to reference all this. Okay. So we define this Web3 model reference thing dot current. Okay. So this thing is persist when it is as until until page is open. So whenever the page closes, it's dies. But whenever the up to the point when the page is opens, it this the reference the thing which is inside this particular variable is not going to delete. Okay. So new and using the Web3 model, which is this one that we are imported from there. So let's use them as well. And we have to provide which things which we are interested, which here we have to provide which network we want. So we want a Web3 network. So all this thing is coming from the model, the Web3 libraries that we already installed into our project. Okay, the provider option. So this is also a function which is the provider option. What are the provider options that we can? Let's see what are the provider options. Okay, so provider options we can provide. Okay, what kind of wallet that you want? Okay, if you can provide, I think the default is MetaMask, but you can go with anywhere like Phantom wallet is also there. So a lot of other wallets is there, but let's keep it as the a default which is a MetaMask. And disable injector provider which is equals to false. Okay, so disable injector provider what it does is I'm not sure about it. So let's keep it there. Okay. So now I save it and let's check everything. Yeah, everything is working. And now let's check the R console.message as well. Here you can see use effect runs. Here you can see the use effect runs, and here we are get provided thing. Okay, but what happens is it is what this again. This is an asynchronous function, as you can see, this is an asynchronous function, and that's why it returns the promise. So any asynchronous function, what happens because everything is on this function is running asynchronously, and before it does anything, the functions already returns its values, and here we got this get provided. So if you want to wait for a while, then you have to use dot then over here. So then all response whatever it is, let's say there's a value also dot log done whatever it is done. Otherwise we just want to cast those things, but yeah, leave it because we are not don't want to do any kind of callbacks. So just again save it, and there is no error. Okay. So yes, we are able to connect. We are using this use ref model to connect. So basically, think about it as we are using this library to connect our wallet to our application. Okay, so we want the ring network. That's why we provide the network. We provide the app provider options, and yes, so this is how we uh, connect it to our wallet. Okay, so so basically, so if we are not connected, if wallet not connected is not there, we assign everything, and then we call this connect to wallet function. So let's create this connect to wallet function as well. Okay, uh, as well, because yeah, here we are not using this provider option. I just want to show you what is happening. So as you can see, it's returns promise and everything, but yeah, but the main thing is whenever the page reloads, you got the option of connect to your wallet. And yeah, I can also show you later. Is this is how you there are different ways of calling this particular function, but as of now, just call it just create this function first of all. So let's go to your connect wallet functions. There's a connect wallet function. So let's write it down as well. Const connect wallet. Okay, so name it as connect wallet, and again it's an asynchronous function. Again it's an asynchronous function, and there's a way of again the way is different, but let's write it down as function async. This is the old way of creating the functions here. So this is a way of creating a function, and uh, try and error thing is there. So try and catch is a way. If there's any kind of error, we can it's not stops the entire function, but it is send it back to the catch, and where we can understand more about the error. So you can also cache the error like this to see what is an exact error. And you can console.log your error as well. So if there's any kind of error, you can see on your console.message. But let's try to connect with your wallets to await get provider signer. Here we are calling this provider function. and await it. As you can see, this is await. It means it's wait for the function to return. Okay, so this is not this, as you can see here, here we got the promise, but when we are using this await, what happens, it's wait to complete this statement, then after this statement is complete, then this statement is completed, and there we got the return, and after this the other thing is done. Okay, and you can see set wallet connected is equals to true, which is our state variables to keep track if the wallet is connected or not. Okay, so this is how we keep track of our wallet is connected or not. Okay, so let's run this thing. Yeah, we don't want to run it here because as you can see, we already run this function. So if wallet are connected, if it is not connected, we are setting everything over here and we run the connect wallet function. Okay, so yeah, so what happens? Okay. So connect wallet is running. Okay, is wallet connected? Okay, so if I set it to the false, so false becomes true, I guess. Yeah, it's true. So this should run. It should run this function, but it is again a promise. What happens here? Okay, let's see if this is running or not. First of all, this get provider function and console.log. I'm running. So let's do it and let's refresh the page again. Okay, so what happens basically? This function is not running. Uh, okay, I think it's not running because of this because what it was that is not easy. So let's figure this out. As you can see, this is also asynchronous function, so we have to wait it to see what are its results. So let's add a wait and let's come over here and you can see, let's delete everything and let's rerun it again. Yep, I'm running and everything. As you can see, we can see it is an object. As I said earlier, this is an object and this provides us with a chain ID. Okay, so in JavaScript, it's really cool way of getting your object, your keys, key values like this. You have to surround it by it with a curly braces, and you got this particular chain ID. So it's got the chain ID, and the 4 is actually the chain IDs for the ring key guys. So if I change it to something else, let's change it to someone else network. Let's change it to the, let's say, the matic, which is the polygon network. I just change it. I just change it to the avalanche network and let's refresh everything. So now you can see the chain ID is different, which is 43133, which is the which is the network ID of avalanche. Okay, so let's again change it to the matic ring. So yeah, as we are using the ring key, so I just select the ring key. So, so here you can see we again go get our ring key network, which is a chain IDs of 4. So based on that chain ID or based on that name as well, but chain ID is actually the unique thing. So based on that chain ID, just remove this now. We don't want to console this out, but yeah. So with the help of this chain ID, we keep track of if the user which a user is using the ring key or not. If it is not equals to 4, as if it is not equals to 4. Okay, so the chain ID is equals to equal. It's if it is not equals to 4, we pop up the error. Okay, so let's pop up the mirror, which is called the window.alert, and the error messages change the network to the 20 20 20 testnet. So we pop the error and we throw this error. Throw this error. Actually, this throw keyword helps us to it will not stop. It just throws the error, and we can catch it later on if we want to. But let's leave it as it is. Okay. So whenever there's a catch kind of things, whenever we are calling connect wallet, it accepts those error and we can show those error as well. So let's test this thing as well. So let's try to do this. So now the chain ID is ready to be, so there's no problem. Let's change it to the different chain ID, change it to the avalanche. I run it again. And now you can see we got the error because chain ID is different. Change your network to regularly. Okay, so whenever I click it, I got this error message over here, which is the error, and change your network. Again, the same message which we set with the help of this particular class. Okay, so this is what the throws does to in JavaScript. Okay, so yeah, this works, and one thing is as you can see, we also send a variable which is called the need signer signer, I guess. I think yeah, it's signer. So based on this, we are also performing some sort of function logic. So let's write it down. Need signer, and what is this? Const signer. Okay, so basically, as we discussed earlier, provider is used to read data from the smart contracts, and signer is need to update the data. So whenever we are using these functions, we have the both option of getting a provider or getting a signer. So if we are yeah, we need a signer. It means at that particular case, we want to update our smart contracts, and we send it true over here, and that true values sets the const signer values to web3 provider, I guess. Yeah, web3 provider or get signer. Okay, so this is again coming from the ethers libraries, and we return that signer object. So we use it later in our contracts or sending data to our smart contracts. And here we just return our web3 provider again. So otherwise, we are just simply returning the web3 provider, which helps us to read data to our smart contract. So that's why we're using. So provider is for reading data, and the sign is for writing data into the smart contracts. So up to this point, we have the feature to connect at least to pop up to our applications with a wallet thing. And if it is not a wallet, if it is not a correct network, we pop up the message. Okay, we have to select the correct network. So this is how things works with this. Okay, so connect the wallet, and yeah. So yeah, as you can see, by using the empty array, what happens, the inside anything which is inside this user only runs once, which is whenever the page loads first time. Okay, but if you want to run these kinds of things based on the certain conditions or based on certain state changes, you have to provide what is the state variable name. Okay, so here I want to run this wallet connectivity things, because each and every time whenever somebody's click on those wallet connection function or button. Okay, let's leave it for a while, and I'll explain you later how what we have to use it here. Okay, why they're using this wallet connect thing. Okay, so yeah, let's create our button, I guess. So this is render button, which is the button simply. So let's come over here, and let's create a simple button. I don't want to use any kind of complex code here, but a simple button which does nothing, which is say, yeah, connect wallet. Let's say is a function, a button which is connect to the wallet, and here is a property which is called the on click. So what you want to do in this on click, I want to fire the functions. So let's say handle connect wallet. This is a function which I want to run. Okay, so let's create this function first of all. Constant again, the function connect wallet is equals to this. Okay, so let me explain what is happening. Wallet. So let's say wallet connected. Yeah, just so what happens whenever I click this button, this function is fired. Okay, so let's see, is it working or not? So I connect this function. Let's get everything. Let's connect, and you can see wallet connected and each wallet connected, and again each and every time the number is increases, it means this function is working fine. Okay, so now we don't want to run this particular thing. Okay, we want to run okay, what kind of number of render button. Okay, so basically, yeah, so basically anyone can render, yeah, connect to wallet button. So let's see what is the render button, which is actually the render button is actually, you can use it as a stylish component, but here we are using simple HTML button. Don't want to go really go with that. So what happens if the wallet connected is connected, we run all those kind of things, else otherwise we return this simple button which is called the connected amount. Okay, so I have to use this wallet connected thing. Okay, so as I said earlier, if you want to use JavaScript inside our code, you have to use the the curly braces. Okay, so again, the two things, which is what if the wallet is connected, what you want to do, else what you want to do. Okay, let's say wallet is connected. If wallet is connected, what we want to do? We want to do a join whitelisted. Okay, so join whitelisted is also state, I guess. Join whitelisted is also state. I guess they're using it. Yep, join whitelist is also state. So we also checked it. Yeah. So this help us to keep track of join keeps track of whether the current MetaMask address has joined the whitelisted or not. Okay, so we only want to show our connect to wallet button if you're not already connected to our whitelist app, or yeah, so if you're not already connected to our whitelist app. Okay, let's say if you're already registered to that particular applications, then you don't want to show users there the button. Okay, connect button, because they're already a part of your application. So based on that logic, you can also write this uh, normal basic if else condition inside this thing as well. So just think about this is a first if, and write it down the second if, which is called the join whitelisted thing, I guess. So let's write it down like this way. So what happens in this and this? Okay, so I guess definitely it becomes too complex. It's better to do in this particular way, because the thing is really complex now. So let's create a function which is called a render button. Supposed to do this and this. Again, that's a function which is you can write it as function as this thing. You don't want to deal with the error function, then the render button. And now is this is simple JavaScript, so we can use logics very easily over here. So if wallet is connected, let's say if wallet is connected, okay, the wallet is connected. You also check, okay, if it is joined or not. Okay, if it is not joined, okay, if it is not already member, then you have to run this function. So you can console.log not joined. Okay, this address so not joined, and now you have to okay. So what happens? These are functions, and we can return. Okay, you can also return what you can return. You can return the HTML. Okay, this is called the HTML, which is actually called the JSX, but let's think about it as an HTML. So we can actually return an HTML code. Okay, inside these kinds of code base. Okay, so instead of this, if you are already joined into the whitelist, they are negative. If you're not joined, okay, so if you joined it, take it the console not you can say it already joined here as well, already joined here. Yep. And you return a message which is called thanks for joining. Let's say thanks for joining. Let's say if it is this condition won't if this condition is false. Okay, so this runs the else block. It means this address is not part of your application. So what you can do, okay, so they also mentioned else if, which is, I guess they are using it for keep track of whether the thing is loading or not. So it's loading as well, loading it. So if the loading state, okay, again it is a state variable as we defined earlier. If loading is false, If loading is false, it means yeah, just have to return a button which we already defined it here. So let's use the button over here instead of the complement. So it returns the button. Okay, it means now you can connect to your wallet as well. So start load button, which is the loading button. Oh, okay. So if loading is equals to true, instead of this, we call this as b loading. We call it as loading. If loading is true, it means the if somebody clicks on some sort of loading things, so we call this loading button. Yeah. Else what we can do is we return a button which is connect to wallet or join waitlist, whatever. For us now, I just want to use this thing, and let's render this button. Yes, let's see if things are there. This thing is we have to call this function. So function. So there's some warning. Functions are not valid as yet. Yeah, this may happen returns component. Okay. So I think I'm not returning. Okay, I'm not returning. Let's have to return it here. Also have to return it as well. Okay. So remember one thing, which this is not a normal thing. So yeah. So as you can see, what is happened? What is happening? Okay, we are here. We are calling this render button function. So here is the render button function, and first we are checking if wallet is connected or not. Okay. So if wallet is connected, let's say if this condition is true. Okay, the wallet is connected. Okay. So if wallet is connected, we come in our first case. What happens? In first, what happens? The wallet is not connected. False. But as soon as we reload this page, we reload this page, we connect this wallet function. Okay, we call this connect to wallet function, and yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so app is as of now is working, like it is working. It is calling this. We are able to call this function, which is called the handle connect wallet. We call it anything, but yeah. So here, what is happening inside this? As you can see, inside this render button, right? This render button, okay, this render button, what we are trying to do is we are trying to return this button if these two conditions are true. Okay, so if these conditions won't affect, and if somehow we returns this join button, and here we are calling this add address to the whitelist, which you can find it out with the help of your smart contracts. We created this functions called the add address to the whitelist. Okay, so now how you call this particular function of your smart contracts from nextjs. So let's check this. Okay, so again, let's create this function, which is a function. So let's create this function. So now this time let's create the arrow function. Okay, so let's create an arrow function which is async, and this is an arrow function. This is the same exact thing, but yeah, it's a shorthand for creating a function. Okay, so add address to the whitelist. Let's search what is this, what does this function does, and how we call this function from nextjs. Yeah. So yeah, this is a function. Is Okay, so basically we are smart contracts. Here's a function inside the nextjs. Okay, so here we again try and catch. So let's create a try and catch. As I tell you earlier, the try and catch works in a way of in this. Yeah. So let's keep exploring these things into our next video. So yeah, bye. See you in your next video.